Hi, I'm John Maxwell. When the top companies in the world are looking for trainers, speakers, and coaches, there's one name that stands above the rest, and that's Maxwell Leadership. Our certified team members have gotten proven results for companies all over the globe, and our reputation, I'm proud to say, is second to none. Some of our members have risen to the top of their profession, including the one you're going to meet today. I proudly introduce you to my friend Bob Fabian Zinka.
Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ, where we help you lead with purpose and succeed with impact. If you're ready to grow into the kind of leader others want to follow, this podcast is for you. If you're determined to elevate your success and leave a lasting legacy, this podcast is for you. As my mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell reminds us, everything rises and falls on leadership. Our goal is simple: to inspire you, challenge you, and equip you with insights that can transform the trajectory of your leadership journey. Welcome aboard to another episode of the Leadership and Success Podcast with Coach BZ.
What if the story we were taught about America was incomplete by design? My name is Kimberly Palermo, and I wrote a book called Indoctrination 365, Taking Racial Responsibility in Post-Truth America. My book is not about shame. It's not about blame. It's about the truth. For generations, many of us were taught a version of history that left out some of the most important parts: systemic racism, hidden history, indoctrination, propaganda, and the way culture quietly shapes what we believe without us even realizing it. This book was written especially for beginners, people who are hesitant, anxious, curious, and for people who know something feels wrong in America, but can't quite explain it. Maybe they hear people saying things that don't sit straight with them, but they don't feel confident enough or have the language to speak up and challenge it. My book is also for people who already know something is deeply wrong and have been following a lot of this, but they want to better organize and communicate these truths so they can help other people understand. I break down complex issues in a way that's honest, compassionate, and direct, and best of all, easy to understand. Because the truth is, we can't solve problems we weren't taught to see. If you're ready to question what we've been taught, if you're ready to think deeper, and if you're ready to grow, visit indoctrination365.com and join the conversation. Because understanding the truth about our past may be the only way to save our future.
All right, welcome to a very, very special episode of the Leadership and Success Podcast. I think this episode is going to make you think. Before I bring in our guest, as is our tradition here, we like to celebrate what we call a moment of gratitude. This is where we take just a moment every single time we meet to be grateful. And I already had two episodes earlier today, so you know that today I am really grateful for America. I think America is still the greatest country that's ever been. That is why so many millions, not hundreds of thousands, but millions of people have come to this country from all around the world, including myself, as you can tell by my accent, right? The home of the brave, the land of the free. But the truth is, America hasn't always been like that. When we started, no, we did start wrong with slavery. That's really a big spot on our history. But the ideals we had, though, as a country, Thomas Jefferson who wrote those words, all men are created equal. I don't think anybody has ever said anything like that before. And I think it was really life changing. I think that's really what makes America so special. Not exactly how we started, but the aspiration we had and the country we are becoming more and more, right? Like Abraham Lincoln said, country of the people, by the people, and for the people. That one America for all people, including African American, including Black, men, women, gay, straight, everybody, all inclusive. That's the America I long to see. That's why I joined the U.S. Navy 21 years ago. That's the America I am willing to give my life for. But regardless, again, we are not a perfect country, but I think we are still the best country out there. But I was born in Africa. I've lived in Europe when I came to the U.S. So uh, I have never heard of a Congolese or African dream, of a French or European dream, but there is the American dream. And I believe I want to do everything I can to keep my country, to keep America live her in a much better place than I found her for my children and my grandchildren who are not born yet. But having said that, so let me bring our special guest today. And let me see if I can properly introduce her. We're going to be speaking to Kimberly Palermo. She's written a groundbreaking book, Indoctrination 365, The Stories America Never Fully Told. And I really truly believe we need to be honest about our past, because we cannot really build the future we need if we pretend that things that happened in the past didn't happen. They did happen. We need to talk about it and we need to learn from it so we can do better in the future. That's really where I stand. So I am really honored to welcome Kimberly to the Leadership and Success podcast today for what promises to be a thoughtful, courageous, and deeply important conversation about leadership, truth, education, history, and the responsibilities that comes with understanding difficult reality, especially this time because we're going to be celebrating 250 years of American history. And that is a moment of celebration, but it needs to be a moment of thoughtful uh, uh, evocation too, right? And we need to think about our own lives, the life of our nation, and where we want to go as a country. So Kimberly Palermo is an educator, a writer, a cultural analyst, and author of a thought-provoking book, Indoctrination 365, Taking Racial Responsibility in Post-Truth America. With decades of experience in behavioral science, special education, cultural literacy, and community learning, Kimberly has dedicated her work to helping even the most reluctant learners better understand the hidden histories, system, and narrative that continue to shape American society today. Her journey includes teaching in Compton during the Rodney King era, leading large online educational community, creating over 1,000 educational videos, and building platform focused on truth, accountability, empathy, and transformational learning. At one point, she even had more than 50,000 people following her on Facebook. Just incredible. Now, me as a cybersecurity executive and information warfare commander in the US Navy, I do believe that leadership requires the courage to engage difficult conversation thoughtfully, respectfully, and honestly. Right? My core values are honor, courage, and commitment. So, especially in an era increasingly shaped by polarization, misinformation, and emotional division. So, this conversation is not about blame. It's not about making people feel bad, but it's about understanding, it's about learning, and it's about leadership, it's about truth. So, part of what we're going to be learning is why difficult conversation require emotional intelligence and leadership maturity, but also why truth, accountability, and historical literacy matter for future generation. I believe now more than ever before, especially when some people are trying to erase African American history, which is American history. So, without any further ado, please help me welcome to the Leadership and Success podcast, the one and only Kimberly. How are you doing today? Thank you. You are on mute. I believe you are on mute. Here we go. Now I can
There
hear
we
you.
go. There we go.
Now, how are you doing today,
I
Kimberly?
am doing great. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate
Good.
being here.
Hopefully, we are going to have a very frank discussion about our country. And we both love our country. We love America. I think it's the greatest country in the world. We just want America to be better, to do better, and to live up to its own ideal. Right? That's all we are asking for. So I guess to get started, no, I guess before I even do that, I wrote an article about the Golden 13. I have their books. You actually right there. Those are the first 13 African American officers in the US Navy, which is my branch of the service. In 1942, it was impossible for somebody with my skin tone to be an officer in the most powerful navy in the world. I'm like, I want to die for my country. I want to go to war. I want to fight for America. America's like, no, 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 no. We don't want you. Why?
Right.
Because I'm black, which is definitely not right. It's immoral. It was legal, But just because it's legal doesn't mean it's not unethical, and it is not wrong. But again, we've learned through it, and today, because of them, I am a senior officer, the most powerful navy in the world, and I just love that idea of America getting better and better and better, and eventually reaching out to our foundational ideal. But anyway, just to get started, I need to ask you, what is one thing you are grateful about today?
Well, I'm I'm very grateful to be here and to get the opportunity to talk about my book. This is my very first book interview, and it
Wow.
means so much to me. So thank you so much.
Outstanding. We already have a few people, one from LinkedIn, Harper, excited to see us. And we have sadly on YouTube, hello, Coach Busy. Thank you. Thank you so much for being there. And if you have any question, please type those questions in the comment, both on LinkedIn and YouTube, and we will answer those questions live. And I also want to know what you guys are grateful for and where you are joining us from, what city, what state. And my show went international a couple of years ago, so we have people all around the world. So let us know which country as well, if outside of the US. So, Kim, what is something about you that most people may not know when they first meet you?
Well, this is going to sound really crazy, but a lot of people think I'm a Karen. Have you heard of this term?
Really?
My children even have told me, "Mom, you look like a Karen." And so I am quite not a Karen, but apparently I have the Karen look or the image. And so that's definitely, I've gone to Trump rallies before.
Mhm.
Um, and immediately they see my color, my skin tone, and they welcome me in. They think I'm there to
Wow.
join in. And unfortunately for them, I suppose, I am not there to join in. I'm there to
Yes.
ask questions and learn. And so it's a
Mhm.
little bit awkward. So
Yes. Wow. I guess you live your life in a very courageous way. I
oh,
must say that. But man, this is, I think, I don't know. It's something we definitely need to talk about more and more, because if you don't understand the past, there is no way you're gonna be able to build the future
right.
you want. So one thing I wanted to ask you, Kim, is for members of our audience meeting you here for the very first time, who are you beyond your titles, your accomplishment, your book, and all of your social media?
Okay, well, first and foremost, I'd say I'm a humanist at heart. I love teaching. Before I became
Yes.
a teacher, writing my book, before I had an online presence at all, I was just
Wow.
someone who wanted to understand the confusing world I saw around me, and I
Mhm.
didn't get it. I didn't understand why people hurt each other.
Hmm.
My family had moved 6 different times before I went to college. I was okay, you're not gonna believe this. I was shy growing up, very shy, not anymore. I'm
Really?
I'm the girl who ate lunch alone in the library for all 4 years of high school. I didn't have
Wow.
any friends, and so I spent a lot of time listening, paying attention. I felt compassion and empathy, and so very early on, I
Mhm.
felt like I was living in this, like, permanent existential crisis because every day in school I would say the Pledge of Allegiance, and I believed it, and I love my country, but then I would look around and be like, "Why aren't people doing what they're saying they're supposed to do?" So I was very confused. They didn't see the
Mhm.
cruelty, the inequality, the inequity, and I was lost. So that I wanted to understand what why people were silent when
Mhm.
so that question stayed with me my entire life, and over time, that became life's work, I guess, is the only way to
Yes.
so that's kind of
Wow.
a nutshell, I think.
So you've spent decades in education, behavioral science, and cultural literacy. What
Mhm.
originally called you into the work of teaching and helping people just learn?
Well, I think part of why I love teaching is going to be a strange answer, but it's because I had a hard time learning myself. And
Wow.
originally, I remember struggling to learn how to read. I remember struggling to understand what's going on, and finally, I figured out how to break things into smaller pieces,
Mhm.
and I was like, "I wanna help everyone do this because it felt so great to, like, give other people confidence, and when
Yes.
they felt so, down, like, I know what it's like to not be able to learn very well. So
Mm.
and
Wow.
do it.
Powerful. Because you've taught in Compton, I think that's a mostly black city there in the LA area during the Rodney King era. I think most people remember that. I believe it was also around the time of the O.J. Simpson trial, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. And there was a lot of civil
Oh,
unrest in Los Angeles. How did that experience kind of change the way you viewed America, leadership, and education?
that's a great question. Teaching in Compton during the Rodney King era changed my life forever.
Hmm.
I came from a wealthy, almost entirely white school. I knew inequality existed, but and I had gone to school for multiculturalism, but in the day a long time ago, and but they didn't really have what they have now, and so I had never witnessed this level of abandonment and segregation and normalized suffering. I mean, I had they were my first babies. These were beautiful little children living in
Yes.
conditions that, like, most people had never heard of. I was 23, and
Wow.
these were my babies. And I had 40 students in my first classroom. No AIDS.
Wow.
We were on constant lockdowns from shooting in the neighborhood. There was
Mhm.
nine shootings in the neighborhood approximately each year,
Wow.
where we'd have code yellows. I mean, and most of my kids thought this was normal. They didn't know that other children had safer neighborhoods and newer schools and
Hmm.
books and libraries and resources and smaller
Wow.
and my kids would. I told them that there are places where there are no gangs in the United States, and they laughed their head off at me.
Yeah.
Like,
So why did you go to Compton instead of Beverly Hills? Like what?
well,
How did that happen?
I went there. In all honesty, I went there because I really needed a job, and nobody wanted to work there, and they
Wow.
were taking people without credentials. And
Hmm.
I was like, I'll work there. I didn't. I mean, I was like, I was 23. I didn't know I
Yes.
didn't know what I was doing. I was like, I'll teach the kids, and so it was
Yes.
quite a learning experience. It forced me to confront the
Hmm.
massive gap between, the America a lot of people imagine and the
Yes.
American communities that what they actually experience every
Yes.
single day. So it wasn't theory anymore. It
Yes.
was wow. Like I could study that all I wanted, but once I was there, I started to question everything: leadership, education.
Hmm. Yeah, because even when you go back to the origin of our country, yeah, we talked about freedom and all of that liberty, the pursuit of happiness, but that wasn't the experience of the black enslaved in this country from the very beginning.
Right.
I guess there is like a dissonance, I guess, but then we pretend like that didn't happen. Like even after
Right.
World War II, which is again when America finally allowed people with my skin tone to become officers in the Navy. We would go to war, fight for our country, come back home. But all of the great benefits that came from being in the service, like the GI Bill to get an
Mhm,
education,
mhm,
the mortgage and all of that, it was for white sailors only, not blacks. Why
mhm.
not? What the heck? That just doesn't make any sense. And the majority of society is like, we do not care. It's like, okay, whatever. Like, and also the red zoning, right? Okay, you
Oh,
get
redlining, sure.
a loan from the VA mortgage zero down to get a home, but because you're black, you are not allowed to join this neighborhood. You have to go. It's like it's just a lot of dissonance. It just didn't make any sense to anybody who's
I can't
impartial or
I can't
objective.
imagine.
Yeah,
I can't imagine fighting overseas for your country that you love and risking your life and coming back and not having the freedoms that you fought for.
yeah.
It's like crazy.
And
So
there were some people, they even what people felt like they were an imposter wearing a uniform, especially an officer uniform. It's like, wow, that is
it hurt,
unbelievable. See,
man.
and because of all of that, that's why I always vote. It doesn't matter which election it is, local, state, or whatever. Some people only vote every 4 years. I know a lot of people who do that. I think that is a mistake, especially in this day and time. And I feel like too many people have died. Some have really I guess experience the ultimate sacrifice for the right for somebody like me to have this privilege to vote. So I will always do that because many senior officer in the Navy I've known, they don't vote at all because they try to be absolutely impartial, right? They support the Constitution, not the Democratic or the Republican Party. But if you are black and you do that, I feel like that is a mistake. That's just my own op-
Right. Well,
uh, opinion. But Going back to the experience you had in Compton,
Mhm.
what leadership lesson did you learn from teaching in this emotionally charged environment where pain, inequality, and misunderstanding were impossible to ignore?
Oh, that's a great question. I learned that people in positions of power have a huge responsibility
Yeah.
to those who don't have it. And the whole Spider-Man thing, or with great power comes greater responsibility. This is
Yes.
real. We weren't
Mhm.
living up to that, and we're not now. We weren't then, and not even close. And I
Mm.
believe in our country. We can do better. I know we can. We have to. So
Yes.
real leadership doesn't require cruel. A little soapbox here, but it doesn't require cruelty, intimidation, and dehumanization. It's the opposite. And
Mm.
strong leaders create accountability while still protecting people's humanity. And like,
Yes.
I remember thinking, if we could get President Bush down here, and he was the president at the time, if we
Hmm.
could get him down here just to spend 1 week with these beautiful children of mine,
Yes.
um, he
That is
would see,
Bush 41, right? Not W. Yeah.
and he would see what was done to them. And I thought, I was very young and very, like, oh, we should just bring him over. I thought that
Yes.
this would be a rude awakening, and he'd see the parents working 2, 3 jobs trying to raise these children in an
Mm.
environment that was given no infrastructure, no money, little investment,
Yes.
not enough opportunities. So I was very
Wow.
naive and then, but
Yes. Hmm. Well, you wrote a book that is definitely thought provoking for sure. And the title, Indoctrination 365, Taking Racial Responsibility in Post Truth America. I think the book itself, the title is very provocative, but you also start this with a very provocative question. You ask, what if the story you were taught about America was incomplete by design?
yeah.
Wow. What emotional journey led you to write this book?
Well, it was a long time coming. For decades, I watched people struggle to understand. I watched, first of all, for decades, I watched the cruelty, the inequality, the inequity, the unfairness, and I
Mm.
studied it. And then I watched people in modern time have such division and fear and racism and disinformation
Yeah.
and cultural instability, and people would ask me online, this isn't the country that I know. I'm like,
Mm.
actually it kind of is, you know
Yes.
system's working just as planned. You just don't realize it. And they'd say, how did we get here? And
Mm.
I realized people were always asking me that, how did this happen? And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow. I realized that a lot of most, I hate to say it, most white Americans, they didn't understand, they didn't have a historical foundation to understand what's happening now. They
Yes.
were truly shocked because they didn't know the history, because they
Mm.
weren't taught it. And they didn't learn in school about sundown towns, the Devil's Punch Bowl, hundreds of race massacres, thousands, black codes, Jim Crow,
Yes.
how the North was participating in everything,
Mm.
the disclaimer in the 13th Amendment, the scores of
Yes.
government sanctions and laws that purposely were created to harm black people and brown people. And
Yes.
they
Yes.
didn't know a thing. So how could they understand?
Wow.
So that's, after teaching so many white people, I thought, I
Hmm.
really need to put this in writing at least, because I've worked with people and I believe we can change. I know we can. I've seen, oh my
Yeah.
God, I have seen changes,
But
you know?
there's really a whitewashing of history. Or do you think it's like most people, they just don't want to know? They know exactly what our country is, how it was created from very beginning, but they just pretend it
No,
didn't happen?
I think they think they know already. I honestly think, because what we're taught in school, people are like, I already know everything. And then I say,
Mm.
well, do you know about this? And they're like, what? Do you know what that's? Do you know what that? Do you know? We'll see. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect. I mean, the more, the less we know about something, the more confident we are. It's a strange thing,
Yes.
in thinking, well, we know it. The more you know, you realize how much you don't know. So you're like
Yes.
humble. But people come up to me all the time and say, oh, I know all that. And I'll say, oh, that's
Mm.
great. Then you must be able to speak quite openly about systemic racism. They're like, what?
Wow.
So it's a human nature, a part of our human nature. But I think
Yes.
people say, I had a Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I had a month of Black history. I know everything. And I'm like, oh, no. Because,
Yes.
but it's not really. it's not really their fault.
Mm-hmm.
They really think they know everything. They think
Mm.
they were told the truth. They think they were told everything.
Yes.
We were not even told 1%. I had to learn all this. I went to school. I was a good little student and
Mm.
tried to listen, and I learned everything on my own. I was shocked at all this stuff, over the years. Like every day I learned something new. I still do. So,
Wow. Okay, let's try to set the stage because your book repeatedly say this is not a book about blame. So we're not trying to blame anyone. It is a book about understanding. So which I think is really something we need to invite more people to. Why was it important for you to make that distinction?
well, here's the thing. Do you want to get blamed for something? No way, right? Of course not. So who's going to like, oh, I can't wait to go to class and everything's my fault. It's like
Yeah.
they say, I wasn't there. I didn't. What I say to people is something that's quite strange, and it's not a perfect analogy, but I say, you didn't, just because you didn't build the pool, you see somebody drowning in it or having trouble, you don't just walk by and be like, well, I didn't build it. Or just
Yeah.
because you can shove them in, you don't do that. But when it comes to systemic racism, oh, yes, we do. We
Yes.
say, oh, I didn't. My ancestors. We have every excuse. We have, and
Mhm.
actually, chapter 14 goes over every classic cliche denial that people
Yes.
make, and it teaches you how to debunk it. It teaches you the history behind it. It's kind of my favorite chapter. But
Mm.
so people get upset. They don't want to be blamed for things, and they don't understand the systemic part. And
Wow.
so you want to challenge the reader, but you don't want to attack them. I mean, who's gonna
Yes.
read a book where they're like feeling like you did this, and they're like, no, I didn't.
Mm.
So of course it's really important.
That is quite fascinating. What do you believe are the biggest myth or historical omissions American were taught growing up that still shape our culture today?
Um, well, the biggest omission you're going to laugh at is we were taught practically nothing about our real racial history, which of course should be called history. But
Mhm.
because I have to differentiate, because most of us have no idea how much is left out. And
Yes.
also, I think Americans are taught in school, because I've worked in many school districts. I went to
Mhm.
school. I have children who went to school. So, I've
Yes.
had a few samplings here and there. We're taught that all this history is an isolated moment instead
Mm.
of an interconnected system. We learned about enslaving human beings, and then it ended. We learned about segregation, and then it ended. But
Mm.
we're rarely taught what happened in between, and
Yes.
we're not taught how our nation can move through these incredible brutalities and exploitations and then act like, yeah, we're all good. It's all good. Well, maybe
Yeah.
they're good, but what about, so we're not
Yes.
taught how systems adapt when power structures want inequity to remain in place. I guess
Mhm.
that's probably, so we're not taught that emancipation of enslaved humans, that was the beginning of a new phase of resistance and backlash and systemic control.
Mm.
So I don't know, I could go on and on. I don't want to.
Yes. No, no, that is quite powerful because you also talk about reluctant learners, right? What have you learned about human psychology, defensiveness, fear, maybe identity when discussing race and history? Kind of a touchy subject these days.
Oh, yeah, it's a very touchy subject. In fact, if somebody calls you racist, that's the worst. If you're a white person, that's the meanest, most horrible thing they could ever call you. And so
But
people are,
yet, so many people act in racist ways.
it's like we have so few racist people with so many racial, it's so funny. I laugh because we have so many people who claim they are not racist, yet so many racial groups. I mean, that basically are clan-like in their nature and they're
Yeah.
cult-like in their nature, but nobody's racist because no one would say like, yes, hi, I'm a proud racist. So it's like we have a lot of racism and discrimination, but no racists. It's like, how does this work? So
Hmm.
I worked with the people. Um, I've learned that anxious, defensive, fearful people, they don't, I mean, this is in anything, they don't learn at their best. There's no way. I mean,
Yeah.
do you want to like be stressed and you don't learn at your best? But when they feel judged or ashamed or attacked, of course not. And
Mhm.
like there's all these psychological things like defense mechanisms like the backfire effect, cognitive
Yes.
dissonance, the Dunning-Kruger effects. These are impacting us, and we don't realize it. So we want to be a good person. We want, like, I'm one of the good ones. So we get really defensive. I do this. I do it. Everybody, people do it. And one of the biggest challenges is that many people do not understand that systemic. They don't understand. One of the biggest challenges is that many people do not understand racism as a system or an inherited culture. So they experience conversations about racism as a personal attack on their identity and their character. And once identity feels threatened, I mean, it's over. So that's why meeting people where they're at is so important.
I mean, that's why I really love to learn history, because I feel like it can really teach us a lot about how the world works today, but also I think help us create a better world, right, for all humanity, not just a specific race or group of people. So, in your opinion, why do some people emotionally shut down when difficult conversation about race, privilege, or systemic inequality begin?
Well, it's a really rough topic because people emotionally shut down with these conversations because it's challenging their most deeply held and ingrained beliefs about their identity, about fairness, meritocracy, and what makes someone a good person. And on top of that, I mean, that's a really personal thing. They take it personally. I mean, and on top of that, many academic terms related to race and privilege and systemic inequality have been distorted and vilified, and either they're turned into something that's quite triggering. If you really think that's what that word means, then yeah, I understand being upset. So if you're judged, you get defensive, and then that ruins everything because you're not going to learn. You don't even want to, you just want to call people names. It really turns people into the most defensive. Let me tell you. But so it's rough.
Yeah, and in your book, you do emphasize again accountability over shame. What does healthy accountability actually look like in practice? How can we be more accountable?
Accountability. I mean, one second. I think accountability for everybody needs to be people. Here's what they need to do. It needs to be a learning experience. Everything needs to be a learning experience. Healthy accountability isn't humiliation. You're not going to put someone down and demean them to the point where they say, okay, you're right. I mean, like, you need to teach them. This is a very complex, it sounds so simple. It's a very complex issue. This is culture, sociology, psychology. There's just so much involved. And you have to have a willingness to listen and reflect and learn and repair harm when necessary, but without centering our own, discomfort. And that's really hard to do because we white folks, we get emotional about this stuff.
Yes.
We feel like it's attacking us. And also, to be honest, a lot of this, you got to deal with the fact that people haven't been completely honest with you. And America you love is still a great place to love.
Yes.
But the truth needs to come out and be told. And that's a really rough thing. Like, it's like hearing that grandpa was really, one of those people in the Epstein files. Oh boy, this is grandpa that you like revered and loved. And you're like, how do you sit with that? Our country is not perfect. It's young and immature.
Yes.
We have a chance to create this incredible, form a more perfect union. And it's not going to happen with lies. So.
Yeah, I want to say young. It's only been about 250 years that we've been around as a country, but there are civilizations like in Iran that have been around for more than 5,000 years. That's a long time. Yeah. Many empires have come and gone, the Roman Empire, Greek Empire, on and on and on, Babylon and so forth. But wow. I don't know. In some way, I feel like as a U.S. citizen, even as a senior officer in the U.S. Navy, I feel like we need to live with more humility. It's true that we are very, very strong, we are powerful, and we are rich. But although it looks like we're having some economic problem lately, but I feel like with our power, like you said earlier, comes responsibility too.
Yeah,
I feel.
yeah, the checks and balances have been thrown off to the point where, obviously, do we really call it a Democratic Republic anymore? I mean, it's a really rough place, and the misinformation is all purposeful, and there's a lot going on. Like, I need to tell you, it's a lot.
Well, in your book, again, we are talking about your thought-provoking book, Indoctrination 365, Taking Racial Responsibility in Post-Truth America. One question I have for you is, one powerful idea from your book is intent and impact. They are not the same. Can you unpack that for us?
Yeah. Intent and impact are absolutely not the same. Let me just get to where I'm at. I have impact. Okay, here's the thing. People will say, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it. But you see, and maybe they didn't mean it that way. But if they said something that's very racist or hurtful or biased or bigoted or, but you see, that's centering their own feelings, because it is, being called racist or even, anything close to that is like, oh my gosh, you get so, upset because it's terrible, terrible insult, because nobody wants to be racist. But good intentions by white people do not erase the harmful outcome. You still hurt somebody. And I've made mistakes. I've even done videos of me making mistakes, and you're mortified. So someone can mean well and still reinforce harm, exclusion, stereotypes, inequality. Leadership requires the maturity to hear about the impact without immediately becoming defensive and making it about us.
That's insightful.
It's tough.
From your book, what do you think are some of the greatest myths that most people believe about America, which is just not true?
The greatest myths. I have a lot of those. Let me just.
I believe on your website you have at least 14. I think, when I was doing research for this.
Yeah. Let me gather my thoughts for a second. Oh my gosh.
Because I also like on your website, you also have kind of like a timeline about our countries dating back to like 1619 to the present, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. I try to present things in many different ways, because many people learn differently.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking at my notes. I have so many notes that I'm going to
take your time, because I think this is really important. Hopefully, what I'm hoping many other people who are listening now are going to be more curious about our own history and actually get to read books instead of banning books. Actually, read them and understand where we came from, because it explains a lot about where we are today as a society.
Yeah. I mean, I want people who read my book to come away with my ideal outcome would be, I hope they come away with seeing American culture and systemic racism and their role in the system in a completely different way. I mean, this is arrogant, but I want it to be life-changing. I want them to feel informed, more grounded, more curious, less afraid to have these conversations. My book is supposed to be about the beginning. After you're done with my book, you're ready to rock and roll for the rest of your life. It is not the end, it's the beginning. My stuff is just the minimal requirement to understanding.
Yes.
If that would make sense.
Absolutely. Wow. That is quite insightful. For example, when I first came to the US, I lived in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, so the deep South. I guess that's the belt of the Bible Belt down south. Everybody appears to be a Christian, or at least they confess that they are. And many times when they think about their founding, they always felt like America was founded a Christian nation, but that's not true, is it?
No, I talk about that in my book actually a lot, and it's not. Even the founding fathers, they had Qurans. I mean, they were not, they made it explicit. The First and Second Amendment, they made it explicit that so it's actually the opposite, to be honest.
Yeah.
So that's a rough thing. I don't know how it all got so twisted. But yeah, now this is not a Christian nation. Separation of church and state. Hello.
Now, we do have great respect for our founders, and I think there was definitely a lot of greatness and genius in them. But telling the truth about the way some of them had slaves and abused and mistreated those slaves, that doesn't take anything away from them, does it?
Well, here's the thing. That's a rough question, and a lot of people get very, very defensive because we learned that our founding fathers are perfect and they're amazing. And
no human being is perfect.
Right. And the fact is, they were humans and they had flaws. For example,
Yes.
Thomas Jefferson. He wrote an incredible document. I mean, the idea.
Actually,
go ahead.
sorry, I'm glad you mentioned Thomas Jefferson. Let me play like a 2-minute clip about our founding father Thomas Jefferson. I think it was one of the most important one because of the Declaration of Independence. I think one of the most important documents ever written in the last 300 years. Let me play this quick video, and
Sure.
I ask you a question on the other side.
This is what Thomas Jefferson saw from Monticello. The view as perfect as his high ideals.
Well, I'd like to welcome you to our Slavery at Monticello tour.
But at Monticello today, it is the imperfect Jefferson we see
Monticello was a plantation.
and must judge for ourselves.
Jefferson professed to hate slavery, called it an abominable crime, but he held on to his slaves. He freed only 7.
The author of the Declaration of Independence, who wrote that all men are created equal, owned 600 slaves over his lifetime. And in addition to his legitimate children, almost certainly fathered at least 6 other children with his slave, Sally Hemings.
For generations, descendants of Sally Hemings have been telling stories implicating Jefferson as father of her children.
DNA proof of a connection came in 1998. Is Thomas Jefferson any less great because the understanding we have of him now is 3-dimensional?
Most human beings I know are quite capable of denial and hypocrisy. And I think that Jefferson's virtues were enormous and his vices were equally enormous.
Pulitzer Prize-winning author John Meacham has just published a best-selling new biography of our third president.
Looked at in full, you find a man whose life was made possible by slavery, who had misgivings, who as a young man attempted, however feebly, to reform the institution. But in the end, he was ultimately someone who was allowed himself to be trapped by the economic, political, and cultural circumstances into which he was born.
Jefferson said that his earliest memory was of being handed up on a pillow as a toddler to a slave on a horse. And we know that his last words were asking Burl Colbert to adjust his pillow here in this room.
Jefferson's butler, Burl Colbert, was also a slave.
There would have been an intimate relationship really from birth to death.
Elizabeth Chu is curator at Monticello. Now, are there pieces of furniture in this room that were made by slaves?
Yes, in the joinery or the furniture-making wood shop in Jefferson's later years was run by a slave named John Hemings. And Hemings ran the joinery and made many pieces of furniture that are in Monticello today. This is an example. He was very highly skilled, and he was freed by Jefferson in his will and given the tools of his trade.
John Hemings is remembered because of his craftsmanship, unlike so many other Jefferson slaves.
To be able to sort of have an image of Jefferson that we all know, and behind him the names of the 600 people that he owned in his lifetime, really means that we have to understand slavery in order to understand Jefferson.
Lonnie Bunch heads the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture, sponsor of a traveling exhibition about slavery at Monticello.
And what's powerful is, quite candidly, we only know the first names. and there are some that we just have as unknown because we don't even
Lucy,
know.
Lucy, 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 where it's almost any old name.
That's exactly right. This is Thomas Jefferson's laptop desk. This is the desk upon which he wrote early drafts of the Declaration of Independence.
The first of those drafts attacked Britain's slave trade, Jefferson writing that King George III has waged cruel war against human nature itself. The Continental Congress took the phrase out. Alongside the rejected passage, the financial reality.
Next to it is his farm book, and here is where he would list the births and deaths of the slaves. He would list the work that they did. So in some ways, it really gives us a full picture of the totality of Jefferson,
which at times contradicts the popular image of Jefferson as a benevolent slaveholder.
The nail reoccupied one half of this site. Inside, there were 4 forges.
One example.
All right, that is enough. I think people get the idea. I think you are on mute again. It appears that you are. Yeah, so I guess the duality of many of our founding fathers, what we teach in school and what the reality was completely different. What do you make about that?
Well, I think, again, human nature, especially for people just starting to really delve into this subject matter, it's very upsetting. You think of this is your hero. This is the person who and I had to go through it as well. I wasn't taught about anything other than he was this incredible writer, and he was. It doesn't mean it's not true, but nobody is only one thing. And if you go to the Jefferson Memorial in DC, you'll see on the wall, and his, Memorial building, you'll see his own writing. He absolutely knew what was going on. A lot of people, I've heard, every classic cliche denial of everything, and a lot of people say, oh, they didn't know it was bad back then. I mean, I've heard everything. It's quite amusing, but not amusing. That's the wrong word. It's quite like, I don't know what else to make of it. It's interesting. Yes. The denial is real. And
especially for Thomas Jefferson, because he wrote the Declaration of Independence. What I found very strange is the slave that he had at least 6 children with. Actually, she was only 14 years old, so that would make him a pedophile. But then also, she was a slave and he was the master, so there wasn't absolutely no consent. So that was rape. And also on top of that, it gets even worse. That was the step sister of his wife, right? They actually had the same father. So how can you enslave the stepsister of your own wife? And then when they had children, those 6 children were slave too. How can you enslave your own children?
It's very, very confusing. And a lot of people cannot handle this fact. So they have to say, well, it was different back then. Well, I mean, evolutional biology doesn't come that far. I mean, they were still human beings like us. He admittedly knew, and in much of his writing, he knew, not about, his relationship, but he knew it was incredibly wrong. And nowadays, a lot of people like to say, well, we cannot take, the morals of today and apply them to, well, actually, yes, we can. Some of them we can. Not all of them, but a lot of them we can. I'm sorry. You hear a child cry and they're in pain. No, you cannot. So the denial is real. It's a very hard thing to take. People like to feel, and this, people like to feel one way or completely the other. They want binary. They want to, it is absolutely wrong or it's absolutely right. And unfortunately, that's really not, we're all in gray area in many, many areas. And that's not the way the world works.
Human beings are much more complicated than that.
Yeah, it's hard because people don't want to hear, something that they really look up to. But for some reason, I'm kind of okay with knowing that, Jeffrey Dahmer loved his mother. Okay. I mean, I'm not just saying, you know what I'm saying? Everybody, and that is an extreme example, obviously, but I mean,
yes, it definitely carries the point. Again, it doesn't take anything away from him. He did write the Declaration of Independence, and the words that he penned really, I think, have changed history. And really, it was the words that African American really latched onto. They're like, hey, this is what it says. This is how this country was founded, but that's not true for me. And pretty much African American made forced America to become a democratic constitution. It's like, no, this is exactly what it should be. This is engraved in our constitution. I am not three-fourths of a human being. I am a full human being. So I should have the same right as everybody else. And it's, I don't know. I guess American history is very complicated, but I really love the way you bring it in your book. What was one of the chapters that was the hardest for you emotionally to write?
That's a great question. There was no one chapter, but the hardest part emotionally for me was the hidden history sections that expose the human suffering, the brutality, and the long-term harm that were minimized, sanitized, left out very intentionally of mainstream. And let me explain that, because about half my book is hidden history. The truth.
Now, also, as you tell us more about the hidden history, because the other myth too I've seen is many people who think that America is a white country. Actually, no, it was Native American who were here, and I guess they were all genocide for the most
Yes,
part.
it was one of the biggest genocides in
Yeah,
at the time, and like
it's crazy.
yeah, we want to think what we want to think because we haven't been taught, and it's being taught the truth isn't about, like I say, isn't about making people feel bad. I found that it's mostly the parents who feel bad. The students who learn this, they learn everything. We had the Vietnam War. Did they feel guilty of that? No. We had this. Maybe they should. I don't know. But it's the parents who are the ones who, because and there's I've done videos on this. There are many reasons for that, which is a whole nother whole other subject. But it's people are okay with hearing real history. We hear it all the time, and then all of a sudden, when it comes to our real racial history, all of a sudden we're like, no, like, wait a second, why is this now?
Yeah.
One of the goals, half my book is hidden history and the truths that Americans were never taught, or were taught in ways that soften them, sanitize them. So goals of the book was to challenge what I call the racial, and I didn't coin this term, this is an old sociological term, the racial empathy gap. People often emotionally distance themselves from historical suffering, and I get that, but I didn't want that to happen in my book as much as it normally could. So we do it so we don't have to confront the pain, and it hurts us to hear these things. Even if we don't feel guilty, it still hurts us. So but we'll never learn, if we don't know our history, how these impact us today. So a lot of white folks might dismiss taking racial responsibility, because they'll say, like, it just upsets me. I get that all the time. I cannot, my family, actually, to be honest, not to throw them under the bus, not my current family, but old, my family when I was younger, they don't want to hear it. They can't watch my videos. And because it upsets them. And I get that. But here's the thing. Our white feelings are not more important than Black lives. And systemic racism and discrimination, it kills, it maims. So I guess I'm trying to bring the point home that my book includes sections that are called human lens, and then and now. And these aren't get the person out sections, but they are sections that I purposefully included with the history. They were designed to briefly place the reader, if not for 1 second flat, into the emotional and human reality behind the history. And again, not to shame blame, or whatever, but to encourage empathy, reflection, and a deeper understanding. These were human beings just like you. But as white people tried to educate other white people, this is a huge part of the process. So going through this, back to your question, it's hard to, because when I write about this and I'm putting a human lens on it, I'm putting a human lens. I'm talking about a girl crying, I'm talking about a little girl crying, and the last sights of her mother was her mother's hand underneath, as they're taking her away. And I mean, I'm talking about, I want people to get this, if not for just 1 second. And I don't have to pretend I don't feel it, but it's hard sometimes. For another example of that is, for some reason, and I've done so many videos, but I put off doing a video on Emmett Till. Okay. And I questioned myself, because that's part of the process. Part of the process of living an anti-racist life as a white person is you question yourself. And I kept saying, Kim, this is a fascinating story, but I had a child who was the age of when he was brutally murdered. And that might have been part of it, because I related so much. I couldn't bear to see the picture for
Mhm.
years. For years, this is what I do. This is supposed to be my profession, and I couldn't
Yeah.
do a video on it, and I finally did. But this is very emotional work, but it's not more emotional, not even close,
Mm.
to what Black people and brown people in this country handle every single day.
Yes.
So,
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think it takes a lot of courage, but I think we do need to have an honest conversation about our country, our origin, and what we want to build, what we want America to be for all of us, right? Not just the white
only going to make it
supremacists, but
better, right? It's only
everyone.
going to make it better for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the bottom line is, and what a lot of white folks don't know, is systemic racism is not good for us in the long run either.
Yeah.
It's not. And we might think we are special and getting these, privileges and benefits, and we are. But in
Yeah.
the long run, it takes away our humanity.
Hmm.
How can that be? It causes incredible dissonance. We know it's not right. We know, when I take I think Jane Elliott, she says one of my favorite videos she does. It's very short. She's talking in front of this all white big audience,
Mm-hmm.
and she says, for people who don't know, she's the blue eyes brown eyes experiment that when Martin Luther King Jr. was murdered, and
Mm-hmm.
went back to her classroom, and so that's how she is, and she's an educator, and
Yes.
says in front of this audience of white folks, raise your hand if you'd like to be treated the way we treat Black people in America today. And then
Mm.
she says, maybe you didn't hear me, because nobody's raising their hand. And she says it again. And she says, well, so it does feel like you maybe do know a little bit about, you don't want it for yourselves, but you're okay with it for somebody else. And I'm
Mm.
not quoting her directly, but it's powerful. And
Yes.
it's on my YouTube channel as well. And
Wow.
so, yeah, I mean, this is powerful stuff. So,
Yes. Yes. Man, we have our first question from the live audience. Sadly, on YouTube says, what is the biggest lesson that the US can learn from the rest of the world, you think?
thank you, Sedley. I know who Sedley is. Sedley's one of my very close friends. Thank you. Does he want you to speak that, or to me?
No, to you. You are the expert.
No. I think, here's my thoughts on that are that we, like I said, we are we're brats. We're like this young country, so
Mm-hmm.
young, and we're in our teenage stage, and we think teenagers think they know everything. I mean, hello,
Yes.
they really do. And there's a part of developmentally that I guess is necessary, but we think we know everything. We know the right way to do this. Stuff has
Mm-hmm.
been invented. People have done incredible things. We just came onto the scene. It's like
Yes.
telling your teenager, like, okay, I get you think you know everything, but one of the most important things we can learn is some humility.
Yes.
Some humility that we don't know everything, and that's okay. It doesn't take away from our greatness. It doesn't, we have
Mm-hmm.
to learn vicariously from all these other incredible examples throughout history. And
Yes.
maybe we can form a more perfect union if we do that, but not if we're this teenage brat country that says, we know everything. I know it all already. It's not
Yes.
going to work for us.
Wow.
So thanks for the question, Sedley.
Yeah, that is quite powerful, and I think that's really what makes America such a great nation. Right, the hope that we would live up to our ideal and really truly treat each and every human being, black, brown,
Right,
native, or whatever,
right.
uh, have the same treatment under the law. Because I remember during the Black Lives Matters movement, which was only a few years ago, during the pandemic 2020, right, it's when it really blew up. Many people really got a little sight, I guess, of what many Black people go through in this country every
Right.
single day.
What they've been talking about for centuries, but
Yes, yes,
we don't believe it,
yes.
Even when we see it, we don't believe it. This is crazy, but we got to see it.
Yes.
We got to see
Yeah,
a little
thank
example.
to see a lot of progressive, positive change in that direction, and now it looks like it's going all the way back to the other side. But I don't know. I guess as a country, let me ask you this, and again for everyone who's watching or listening, we're talking about Indoctrination 365, taking racial responsibility in post-truth America, a thought-provoking book by Kimberly Palermo, and she's right here on the hot seat on the Leadership and Success podcast. And thank you for allowing us to talk about this very important subject. I think again, especially as we are about to celebrate 250 years of this great country. I guess one question I have for you, Kim, is many leaders today fear saying the wrong thing publicly. They're really afraid of that. What advice would you give to executive, military officer, educator, managers trying to navigate this conversation responsibly?
Well, I actually do have advice, and this is a tough thing. They need to know their real history. And what I mean is our real racial history. They need to understand the culture indoctrination that Americans inherited without realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
They need to know it cold. And that's a big ask because there's no hub, especially if you're white. Maybe if you're black or brown or indigenous, or maybe your parents or grandparents, maybe you have learned some things here and there. Maybe you've taken it upon yourself. But white folks, there's no hub. The school's not going to do it. Maybe you could study it in college as your undergraduate degree. Well, that'd be good, but that's rare, there's no hub we're going to go to. It is on us. And you become confident. How I know this is because I was raised in the era of colorblindness. I didn't know anything. My parents weren't overtly racist. Okay. They weren't overtly, which was good. I had less to unlearn. But nevertheless, I lived in society. I know what it's like. It indoctrinates you right just from your mere existence of living here. Mm-hmm. And you have to take it upon yourself to teach yourself. And being raised in an era of colorblindness means that when your parents, you ask your parents questions, they shun you, they stop you. You are not to ask that question. You are not. So you right away, it shuts you up. So you aren't supposed to ask, and you learn quickly that that's not something you can talk about, but you still wonder it, or maybe you shut it down. Well, so there's no hub for us to learn. We have to teach ourselves. And so I had to teach myself, and it's fascinating once you get it. And there's no going back. Once you start learning it, you want to know the truth. If you crave the truth like I do, you'll love it. And because I want the ugly truth over pretty BS lies.
Yes.
And so I had to teach myself. And so the leaders who want to make a difference have to be strong, and they have to teach themselves, educate themselves, practice, find your voice, read a lot, practice saying things, practice talking about it. And it's risky because in this day and age, you might just get your behind booted out of, look what happened with our administration now. All the black people who are in prominent positions, not so much anymore. There are risks involved. There are. So.
Well, but to know that some people actually gave their life, to give us that freedom for those who are black, especially.
That's right. They had their life taken. They had their life taken.
Yeah.
And so, right. And that's a great point. They had their lives taken.
Yeah. But what I don't understand, though, once, after slavery was officially over, right? So we got the freedom. So now we are U.S. citizens. So the Constitution applies to us as much as it applies to white people. All they wanted was the right to vote. Just go and cast a ballot. And for that, many people have been killed. Yes. And it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well,
especially in the deep South.
A law will not change your heart, as we all know. Yeah. And so what happened is, it was, instead of ending, people come up with more very, very covert ways to make things happen. Maybe they don't name exactly it has to be black people, but for example, maybe the people fired, not to, bring up anything current, maybe there are people who 80% of the people there happen to be black, but you don't say black, you just fire that sector. And, that's an example from today. Sorry, I had to go there. But in the olden, in the olden days,
I think they had the grandfather clause for example, right?
Absolutely.
You
Yeah,
can only vote if your grandfather voted. But if your grandfather voted while everybody else was a slave, that means they would never be able to vote.
right. It's just, yeah. I mean, maybe you had to. Do you guess how many candies in a jar? And there
Yeah.
are thousands. You have to get the exact number. I mean, they had every way to try to circumvent
Yeah.
the spirit of freedom,
Mm.
equity, and we still are doing it today. And that's so
Yeah.
frustrating. And so if you don't know if we, as you know, if you don't know
Hmm.
your own racial history, or what should be called history,
Yes.
then it's you cannot understand. I'm sorry. You are ill-equipped to understand what is happening today. You might be able
Mm.
to vote, but you don't get what's happening because
Yeah.
you don't understand the history. So
Mm.
it's rough.
Man, again, your book, Indoctrination 365, I assume 365 is 365 days in the year. Indoctrination. I guess the question I want to ask about that is, as a behavioral science professional, what have you learned about how the media, repetition, and social environment kind of shape human belief?
Um, well, let me just get my notes back here because I have a lot to say about that.
Yes.
You have a lot of really good questions.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. The media has been instrumental, absolutely instrumental in perpetuating propaganda, lies, just absolutely everything. Especially now that we have this incredible age of communication,
Mhm.
the ability to just send things everywhere. And what's been going on is this post-truth era, like I like to call it, is just exponentiated by media propaganda.
Mm.
And it's a really, really rough thing. And they say that a lie goes, a certain amount of times more viral than the truth. And what
Yes.
happens, and this is kind of a theory. I don't know if it's somebody else's theory, but I think I might have, just come up with it with my family. That what happens with media is it creates apathy, because
Mm.
right now we're getting bombarded. The turnover is like, it's not even a 24-hour, it's like an
Mhm.
8-hour turnover of
Yeah.
incredibly horrendous things. And so what happens is take the psychology of a person
Mm.
and think, we like to either completely understand exactly what happened and be outraged, or be like, man, who cares? It's nothing exciting. Well, but that's not really how things work. So what happens is if you hear a truth and then you hear an absolute lie about it, it's hard to be outraged when you don't know. You don't
Yeah.
really know the truth. So people just feel like, oh, whatever, like, I don't
Mm.
know, too much. It's too much, I'm trying to make ends meet. I'm trying to feed my family. I don't have time for this. I can't take the time to look up and find the truth. So they're not outraged. And that's exactly by design.
Wow.
That's by design.
Man.
Media is helping. Media is helping very much. So
Yeah, because when you say by design too, really you're thinking more about the system than just specific individual, right? And you frequently discuss systems and structure. How should leaders think differently about systems instead of only focusing on specific individual? Because I think some people don't see the systemic racism that might be really baked into some of our system. Like you said, sometimes they kind of defensive. Well, I am not racist. I didn't do anything wrong, but not really realizing how it is embedded into our society.
well, for example, is you can be really nice to your neighbor who's black or brown or indigenous or Asian
Mhm.
or whatever, and you like them and maybe think they're different or they're not like the others, whatever you think, and then you go vote against their best interest. So that's a system you're able to help to control.
Yes.
Or you might look at here's an example. You're a teacher at a school, and you really do believe that you want to help the children, but the tax code is created such that each town or city's infrastructure is what pays the taxes.
Hmm.
If it's been redlined for years and years and years, and it's falling apart because no businesses want to come in, and
Hmm.
no loans will be given because of redlining, and people who are really struggling are the only people that can buy a house there, or would be
Hmm.
able to possibly, then it doesn't really matter how much you're truly believing in equity and equality. The
Yes.
system is destroying. You have no books, like Compton. We had no
Mhm.
books. We had
Yeah.
no desks. I had 40 kids in my class. They were
Mm.
little. This was elementary school. They were 9 years old. The children. That's a
Yes.
systemic level. I don't care how good I am. I'm sorry, I'm not that
Mhm.
good. I can teach these kids,
Yes.
but I can't be that good. We
Mm.
had no books. We had no curriculum.
Ah.
So does
I,
that make sense?
yes, that is really quite insightful because I guess another way we could think about that is, would those conditions be acceptable for an average white child in America, the most powerful
That's the test.
country in the world?
That's the test we use. Is if you think, let's switch that around. What would we do if that happened to a white child? Whoa. And it really makes you think. We wouldn't stand it for 1 second flat. Let's
Yeah.
say, I'm sorry about the immigration that's going on and the cruelty and the way it's being done. I don't care what you think
Yes.
of immigration. It doesn't matter. The inhumanity. Imagine every little child screaming for his mother. If that was a blonde, blue-eyed kid, I'm sorry.
Mm.
It wouldn't happen. Think about, I'm sorry to get into this, but think about
Yes.
January 6th. If that was all black people, it would have been a bloodbath.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry. It's the truth, and it's a
Yeah.
very hard truth.
Mm. Well, we've already gone 10 minutes over our time. I'm sorry to keep you so long, but you talk about so much and we don't talk about this enough. And I feel like this is so critical and important. Can you stay for maybe another 5-8 minutes?
Absolutely.
Okay. So let me ask you about society, democracy, and responsibility. One thing you write is the fire ended, but the damage was never repaired. Can you unpack that for us? What do you mean by that?
Absolutely. Yeah, you were. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We can talk about something that happens, an event that's huge and destructive and horrendous, and then we move on to the next thing. But events that are that huge and horrendous have consequences. They
Mm.
have that follow through time. They follow us through time, and you cannot have something like a house burning down and then say, okay, everyone's alive, it's fine now. Well, wait a second. Their house is gone. They have nowhere to live. I mean,
Mm.
so one example I like to use for that is in the days that it was legal to enslave human beings in the United States. In most places, it was absolutely illegal to teach or for a Black person
Mhm.
to learn, read,
Yeah.
write, educate themselves. Absolutely, like, and
That's
if
that's probably when we talked about when they were free and able to vote. They're like, okay, you cannot vote if you cannot read. But of course, they
right, I
couldn't
mean, like,
read
what do you
because
think?
it
Right?
was
It's like
illegal.
neener, neener. Guess
Yeah.
who got you? It's like, and we're still doing things like that today. But I won't get
Yes.
into it.
Yeah.
But no, don't get me started. But we'll close down the
Mhm.
place near your house. But sorry, don't have an ID. Got to get it there, but they're closed. Oh, too bad.
Yeah.
Can't vote. But anyway, that's a whole nother story.
Mhm.
But so let's say, okay, you were not allowed to read. Your parents were not allowed to read. Their parents were not allowed to read. I mean, not allowed. They'll be killed if
Mhm.
they were, or maimed,
Yes.
and so all of a sudden, woohoo, emancipation, and
Mm.
you have kids. Okay, so like, have you ever tried to help your children with their homework? Hello.
Yeah.
Welcome to parenting. I'm a teacher, for God's sake. And
Yes.
it's not, let's pretend you never got a formal education at all. In fact, more than that, you weren't allowed to
Mm.
learn or read. What do you think that does to your children when they need help with their homework? What does
Yes.
it do to apply for a job application? What does it do? I mean, there are implications of these
Mhm.
things that travel through time
Wow.
and spread, and it's not good. So I guess I
Yes.
hope that answered your question.
Yes. Yes. So, what responsibility then do you think educator, media creators, and leaders have in protecting truth and historical literacy?
Can you ask that again? I mean,
Oh,
like,
sorry. What responsibility do we have, educators, media creators, and leaders across our society, in protecting the truth and historical literacy? What's our responsibility?
it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, we've discussed some of this already, and part of it is that it's a huge responsibility, and it's a
Hmm.
personal responsibility, and especially I hate to say it, but if you're a white person, it's way past time that we take racial responsibility. And it's been
Well,
too long. We've let this go.
it looks like you yourself have paid quite a personal price for this. What does this journey personally cost you, emotionally, mentally, professionally?
Um, you know, it's kind of an interesting question because anything I say about it, you have to understand, I can always act like, what a lot of white people do and say, like, I don't know what systemic racism. Oh, that's in the past. We had Obama as a president.
Mm.
Oh, show me. Why is Trump racist? What are you talking about? I don't see a thing. I can pretend it doesn't exist. I can use the 30 classic cliches in chapter 14 and I can view every last one of them, Oh, only the wealthy people had enslaved humans. Give me a break, Nobody else was in on it. The North didn't do it. I can come up with these lies. I can pretend and believe and I can quit any time. So nothing that could happen to me from doing this could be
Yes.
anywhere near what is the people who actually have to live this every day. I don't have to live this. I'm choosing to teach this. So it's like a little bit different. But I mean, okay, the truth is, yes, I've been doxxed. I've been my life. I've called police. I've been I had to call police.
Wow.
And I've had everything, like not everything, but I've been told, horrendous things. I've been called horrendous things. I've been analyzed. I mean, people are amazing. They'll analyze my body. I'm like, wow, damn, you guys are good.
Wow.
I've, the scariest stuff has been death threats and whatnot, because I tend to think that's kind of psycho, but yeah, nothing
Yeah.
compared to what every person who lives in this country, who's Black, Brown, Indigenous, or of mixed heritage has endured.
Wow.
Nothing. So,
That is really crazy.
but I wanted to go back for a second. I had something to, if you don't mind, for just a
Please.
minute. When you're saying what responsibility do educators and media and all that have, and I said a lot, and
Yes.
we're the people who, the people who form our culture are educators, media. I mean, we're all doing it together. Your parents, sure, your relatives, sure, but it's our culture. And so just living here kind of influences us. And if leaders distort and ignore, reward disinformation and it's so easy to manipulate people. It becomes very easy. And I wanted to give a quote from Lyndon B. Johnson. No, he's not particularly it's a very blunt quote. And it's antiquated and it's racist and rude. And at the time, it was also racist. So it is not like, oh, it was those days, But what he said was absolutely true. And so under the guise of not wanting to be A to Z, and, not everybody is perfect, but he said, if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him someone to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you.
Wow.
And this extreme manipulation, white folks in the aggregate, we've been fooled for generations. Every generation, we've been played the fool.
Wow.
What we get, sure, you can pretend you're superior. I mean, I write about this in my book. You can pretend, but deep down, that's ridiculous. Most people do. I mean, obviously, there are some who actually think they are, but whatever. That's a whole other story. Most people aren't that ridiculous. They know that.
Wow.
Yeah, So it's rough. It's a rough place, but lots of responsibility to hand out to lots of people. And I call on, because I don't tell Black people what to do. I don't tell them. That would be a form of white supremacy, me thinking I know best. Okay? But I do very much educate white folks, Black folks, and Black and brown folks, and Indigenous people, and they teach me. I learned from them everything I've ever learned, minus the books and minus the school, and I went for my undergrad. Everything, even it's the lessons that they've been gifted me that have taught me.
Yes. Wow.
So,
man, I'm so sorry you received some death threat. The only time in my life I received death threat when I was at the University of Alabama, of all places. First, I ran for student government senate for the College of Arts and Sciences. No problem. I didn't even win. Fine. And then I just dared. I had the audacity to run for student government president. Oh man, all hell broke loose. I'm
Wow.
telling you, yes. CNN came to my campus. My mother was so scared. She was
Are you kidding me?
she saw me in a CNN International, NBC, ABC,
Uh-huh.
all over news channel because they said they were gonna hang me from a tree, and they called me the N word and all of that. They defaced all of my sign. I wasn't even gonna win the presidency, but man, I have never seen racism in my life until then. That was real. It was personal. I had campus police follow me to my classes to ensure that nothing would happen to me. The University of Alabama was actually my mentor, but anyway, it was terrible, terrible, terrible. I have never seen that face of America in my life. No wonder I no longer live in Alabama. I live in beautiful California, Silicon Valley. But yeah, it
I
is
went to
quite
UC Davis, so I know about
yeah, it is quite an
that's gotta been
experience.
shocking.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
just shocking. Wow, I'm so sorry that you endured
yeah.
that. And you're young then too. I'm like
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I was what 18 years old. Yeah,
that's just
19.
terrifying.
Yeah, yeah. It's but no. I guess one question I have for you then is what keeps you going with
Um,
all of the challenges, the heartache it is causing you? Why do you keep going?
oh, I, this is like this is kind of a personal. You're gonna laugh. This is like a personal question, kind of. You don't even know it, but it is. What keeps me going is I need to not participate
Hmm.
in living a lie. I I don't want to participate in it. I don't want to be that Karen that we talked about. I
Yes.
don't want to be. I have such a strong feeling of need to have things be just, and I don't want to live a lie. And
Hmm.
what keeps me going is it's kind of an arrogance, actually. It's a bit of an arrogance, and it's a bit of a this is not the world that I thought I was bringing my kids into.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. And I am not going to sit here and watch and do nothing because
Mm.
what
That's
people don't
powerful.
understand, and I write about this in my book a little bit, is that there's groups of people in the United States. Sure, there's clan type people. Well, those folks, I can't really, that's
Mm.
like too far gone, like whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's people who really care and want to learn, and they're still learning, and they make mistakes, and who cares? At least they're
Hmm.
trying, and that's really great.
Yeah.
But then there's everybody else, and that's a
Hmm.
big group, and that's a big group, and they need educating because they're trying to make ends meet. They're not doing it on purpose. Maybe maybe they've given up on the system. Maybe they're too
Hmm.
busy. Maybe they have 3 jobs. Maybe they have 10 kids. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they are doing nothing. And
Mm.
what they don't understand is them doing nothing condones and
Wow.
allows the status quo to continue. So what
Yeah.
I want people to do is learn and get involved and get a fire. And so to do that, there's
Mm.
like a lot of us. So if I don't keep going, and not like I'm some savior, because see,
Hmm.
look, America is saving themselves. They don't need me.
Yeah.
I am no hero. They will, but God forbid white folks jump in and
Yeah.
look up to our Constitution and help out a little bit. I mean, you did like I said before, you don't walk by
Mm.
somebody slightly drowning because in the pool and like, well, I didn't shove them in, so who cares? I didn't.
Yes.
What kind of person
Yes.
does that? I didn't build the
Yes.
pool.
Yes.
Who
Like.
cares?
Hmm. Because
So
even talking about the Constitution, right, as a naval officer, my oath is to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
right,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic. But even that Constitution, when it was first written, though, Harper G says, at one point, African American were considered 3/5 of a person. She says, what? No, that
mm,
just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But back then, it was like, okay, that's perfectly normal. We don't see anything wrong with that. It's just because it's legal doesn't mean it's moral or
right,
ethical.
right.
And I think really one great contribution from African American in this country is really again making America live up to its highest ideal. That's why I really love Martin Luther King. He went back and talked about the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Right, America, you wrote this check, and we've come now to get that money. Right, it's time for
Cash
you
it in.
to
Right.
pay up. Right, put your money where your mouth is. Right,
Mhm.
and I feel like that is. Powerful. But one other way where I connect to this is Of course, I came to the US when I was 17
Mhm.
years old, so my direct ancestors were not slaves. However,
Right.
the first slave didn't come here in 1775. It was actually in 1619, August 20th, 1619. And problem is, it was called Point Comfort in the Virginia colony at the time. There was no comfort for them, for
Mhm.
sure. But the interesting thing is, was very first African American slave in this country in 1619. They were actually my kin ancestor. They came from Angola, the Congo
Right.
Kingdom, where
Right.
my people are from. So that's really my
Right.
connection with the struggle of blacks here in America. But anyway, anyway, it's I really think America is a great country. We are definitely not perfect, but we definitely need to do better to live up to our foundational ideal. So to kind of get this show to a closing, I could talk with you for hours and hours
Oh, I agree with you too. I
and,
never shut up.
and
I'm sorry.
hours.
I never
But
stopped.
was there like maybe some people or experiences that most shaped your courage to speak openly about the true story of America?
That's a really good question. Um, Let me think about that. You know who's influenced me the most? I mean, I can say book wise and I
Hmm.
can say video wise. Michelle Alexander, The New
Yeah.
Jim Crow, um, blew me away when I was younger
Hmm.
because it just hit me. And Jane Elliott, watching the Blue Eyes, Brown Eyes uh, experiment that obviously would never be allowed to be done now,
Hmm.
um, to see those little kids just turn into incompetent little like sad, depressed kids over a week's time
Mm.
because somebody told them that they weren't worth it.
Wow.
And to see how self-esteem, to see this is the case that turned over uh, allowing separate but equal for schools,
Hmm.
uh, where the doll experiment, or the black doll white doll experiment. I mean, to see
Yes.
these kind of things, it's just, it makes me feel so much compassion and empathy,
Hmm.
and it it makes me
Mm.
just say I have to keep
Do
keep
something.
keep trying to do something. I want to
Yes.
take my last breath knowing I did my best.
Mm.
I can't change the world. I'm one person, but if I can help people to learn and to educate themselves and to understand,
Yes.
then I've done the best I can. And if everyone
Mm.
in America took a little, just a teeny bit of trying to do that.
Yes.
Also, my closing statement, not that it's, people say,
Mm.
"Oh, you're people." I've been called a race traitor. I've been, I've, whatever. It's
Wow.
clearly they don't know race is a human construct, but
Yes.
I've been called everything. It's fine. But what people don't get, and they say, "Oh, leave if you don't like it." Well, that's
Mm.
ridiculous. The most patriotic, strong thing you can do if you love this country is to help form a more perfect union.
Yes. More.
And that's what our military people are doing. That's what everybody is supposed to be doing, is
Yes.
using our Constitution as their Bible
Mm.
to stand together as
Yes.
one people, no matter where we're from or what we do. And so
Mm.
what I tell people,
That's
what I
powerful.
like, I like people to know, which is really important to me. I wrote that book not because, I know everything. Oh, for God's sakes, I don't. There's not a chance.
Yes.
I wrote that book because I've been working with white folks for years, and they love our country. And I know we can do better. This is
Yes.
not our best. White folks,
Can
this
do
is
better.
not our best. And we have to
Mm.
do better, and we can. And I believe in us. If I hated this country, I would have given up a long time ago. It's the
Yes.
opposite. It's the
Yes.
opposite. I know
Wow.
we can do better.
That's really powerful. And the book you mentioned, The New Jim Crow by
Yeah.
Michelle
Yeah.
Alexander, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness. Why should my audience read this book?
It's very eye-opening. She's amazing. The way she explains things, the way I was reading it, and I read it a long time ago, so I
Hmm.
can't be too detailed. I mean, it was a long time ago, but
Yeah.
it makes you live it. and she teaches you so you get it.
Mm.
You really get it. And once it's more of an experience than reading. You can't separate yourself from her words. She's
Yes.
really good. And that's part of why I added to my history section, I added the human lens. I want
Yes.
people to have a slight tinge of vicarious learning and feeling it,
Yes.
because that's
Wow.
we have to bring out the compassion and the empathy that
Okay.
makes us human.
Mm.
We have to grasp it and say, these are the values that we want, not
Yes.
being tough and making lots of money and hurting
Mm.
people. Stop looking up to that.
Yes.
Start looking up to what makes us human, and that's our compassion and our
Mm.
integrity and our ability to have a feeling and be
Yes.
scared and be terrified and stop ourselves and say, you know
Yes.
what? Doesn't make sense. I'm going to stop
Mm.
myself and I'm not going to do that. And that's what makes us human. And let's celebrate
Wow.
that. So,
Believers have the values that make us great. Okay, we do need to shut down this podcast soon, so I'm going to be landing this plan. But I do have to ask you, what have you learned about yourself while writing and discussing this book?
well, that's a really tough one for me, actually, if you can believe it. It's a tough question because I've been doing this for so long, and I wanted to put all this together. And I think what I've learned about myself, and this might be very, very crazy and very self-centered to say, but I feel strengthened. And that little girl that's still in me, who looked around and said the pledge and didn't understand why people weren't doing it, and felt like alone, like I really don't belong here. These people are being cruel, and they're saying we have to talk about how not cruel we are, but we're being cruel. We're not doing anything. Something's very wrong. And
Yeah.
I blamed myself. And my book reminded me every time I sat down to write it, it's not me. It's not us.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
our culture. It's our society.
Wow. So
And
if you could sit down with your younger self, that little girl you just mentioned, or the teacher in Compton during the Rodney King era, what would you tell her today?
I would say everything that I went through watching my precious babies. I have something this is going to sound really strange, but there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about those kids. I don't think about those kids. I was 23. I didn't know anything. You always think, oh, you think you know everything. I knew nothing. Okay.
Yes.
And I learned something else and I think I know everything. No, I know nothing. I mean, I found again, I want to know where they are, if they made it, if they did okay, if they were shot and killed, if they, I had them for 2 years and they were my first babies. And
Yes.
I was looking back, they should have had a better teacher. They should have had a better, I was 23. What did I know? I knew nothing,
Yes.
But I did my best. And I want to tell myself that, you know what? I might not have been able to teach too much with 40 kids running around, and they were wonderful kids. But if I gave them a sense of feeling like they mattered, and
Yes.
feeling like I cared, and that their life mattered, and everything like that, then maybe my work was done. And don't be so hard on yourself, because I would dream someday that somebody like Oprah will like bring my kids on, and I want to know. I mean, they're grown adults now. This was years ago, but I will never forget Juan and Letitia, and I will never forget them, and Melissa and Omar. I will never forget them because they were my first baby.
So powerful. I think it's Maya Angelou who said, right? People will forget what you say, but never forget how you made them feel.
So
And
yeah, absolutely. And I hope that, and I don't sit there feeling guilty like I was a kid myself, but
yes.
I love them like my children because I didn't have children. They were my first babies.
Yes.
So
because that was back in 1991, was it?
God, I don't even remember the date. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, it's been 35 years ago.
These guys would be in their 40s. I mean, these kids would be. wouldn't recognize a single one of them.
Many of them, including Omar, you just mentioned, they still remember you. They may not know your name, but they remember how you made them feel. That's powerful.
I hope
Wow.
so. I hope so.
Wow. Almost makes me want to cry. Okay. All right. We need to end the podcast. To end this, let's I usually do it in a couple of minutes. This time I'm not gonna let you be the professor, just go on and on and on and on. Very, very short, very, very brief, really, really quickly. First thing that comes to your mind, just let it out, right? Rapid fire leadership question. Are you ready?
Say that again.
I'm gonna ask a question, and I want the first thought that comes out of your mind, and be as
Oh
brief
boy. Okay,
as
sure.
possible.
Sure,
We're just
sure.
gonna go boom, 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 and then we're gonna end the show.
I'm scared. Go ahead. Yes.
Sounds good. Okay. Question number one: what does leadership mean to you today?
Integrity and honesty.
All right. What is one belief you once held strongly that you later change your mind about?
That people just don't understand what they're doing, and they don't mean to be cruel, and they don't mean it, sadly.
Yes.
I'm jaded.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What book beside your own has most influenced your thinking?
Definitely, like I said, I mean, I have, look at all these books. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes.
But yeah, The New Jim Crow was huge. And White Fragility was also pretty huge because it was
Yes.
a good, very basic introduction.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What does courage look like in everyday life?
Courage in everyday life could be being afraid and fearful and thinking to yourself, I'm going to do this anyway.
Wow. So feel the fear and do it anyway. That's courage. What kind of legacy do you hope your work leaves behind?
Well, of course, I hope it changes everyone's life.
Yes.
Changes the world. You know, I'm arrogant. I'm the white privileged woman here.
Yes.
You know, I'm the Karen that you're all afraid of. Whatever, understandably so. So my children tell me. But yes, I want to change. I want to change the world. I'm one of those people who never grew up and nobody ever pounded into me, you can't change the world. So I still have this fantasy.
Yes.
I want people to learn and grow and say, you know what? I'm going to try something different. I'm going to think differently.
I really love that childhood innocence. I wish we all keep it. So what does a more perfect union mean to you personally?
A more perfect union means we're not there. Yes, our country's amazing, but we are not there. We are these bratty teens. We are at the bratty teen stage. We can do so much better.
Yes.
We can do so much better. We should, we can, and I believe in us.
I love it. All right. Last question. Before I ask you what we can do to add value to you, if millions of Americans were listening right now, probably going to be up to 65, 66,000 if everybody who's subscribed to this podcast listen. But especially people who are uncertain, uncomfortable, skeptical, or afraid to engage this conversation. I guess that's going to be the majority of those who don't do anything, but they not actively racist, but they just want to do anything to help. So what would you want them to understand about truth, about humanity, and about responsibility?
And I have to say in one word? Okay. I will say
silent, no, you can say more. So we're talking to the silent majority.
That we all inherited a culture that was never fully explained to us. Much of this was intentional. We inherited it. It's not our fault. We inherited an incomplete narrative. Our early conditioning shaped our conscious choices that we didn't even know we were making. So ask yourself this. What were you shown about race and power and history and human value before you were even old enough to question what you were seeing? Because that is where our real education begins.
Wow.
Not when you can think about it. And once you recognize those patterns, you can learn differently.
Wow.
So that's all I can say.
I think for the America 250th anniversary, this is a great, powerful lesson. Thank you so much. So we are coming to the end. What can we do, Kim, to add value back to you? Thanks so much for spending so much time with us and sharing your wisdom.
My honor. I'm honored to be in your program. This is like wonderful. My first book interview. It's like amazing. You seriously, I'm just thrilled. You're wonderful. I am so lucky to have met you. What I would love people to do is learn all this stuff. If you can't learn it from me, learn it. Don't be afraid. I will personally tutor you. I mean, like I will I do that. I will do whatever it takes. This is my passion. This is my life. I will help you move along. I am not here to shame you. If you feel that, you're being shamed, we'll talk about it. I'm like absolutely open. I have a YouTube channel that I got booted off, demonetized. Maybe one person will see my video. It used to be thousands, not anymore because they kicked me off. Go to my YouTube channel, watch my videos. Some of them are obnoxious. Some of them are like off the charts obnoxious, but they're all about truth. Some of them are very nice and teaching with like little spectacles like a teacher. Join my LinkedIn, join my group, join everything I do. I'll talk about this with you. I will help educate you, and you will educate me through interaction.
Wow.
So,
that is powerful, powerful, powerful. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, everybody needs to get a copy of this book, available everywhere books are sold. Indoctrination 365, Taking Racial Responsibility
and
in
guess what?
Post-America. Wow.
One more thing I forgot to tell you.
Please.
I have a website where you can do learning. It's called indoctrination365.com. And
That's
you can
right.
go on there and learn. And I'm always adding information on there.
That's right. I have a ticker with that down there, indoctrination365.com.
Okay. Thank you.
Powerful, powerful. Well, thank you so much, Kimberly. You are very courageous. Please keep up the good work. I think you're doing God's work and helping all of us American to be better, because I think we can do better, and we need to build that more perfect union for sure.
And I'm still learning something every day. So thank you.
Well, I guess I should ask you. Let me see. Sadly, say thanks, busy. Really great question from you. I'll share your podcast with as many other people as possible. Thank you so much. Do appreciate that. Let me ask you, because we did talk about a lot of very, very heavy subject today. Let's leave on a very positive note.
Sure.
What is something you are feeling optimistic about these days?
I'm feeling optimistic that more and more people who were dragged into this ideology of fear and whatnot are starting to open up their eyes.
Yes.
Every day I hear more people, and it makes me so happy. I don't not like them. I don't look down upon them. I think, hey, whenever you're ready, I'm here, and so many other people are here to you're not losing your community. I can't speak for everybody, but I will take you in. I will help you. I will teach you. You have friends. Nobody's going to think, oh, those people. Not at all.
Yes. Wow.
You're not alone, and people are changing, and I know they can do this.
Wow. Thank you. Very, very last. Actually, before I ask you the very last question, was there a question I should have asked you? I didn't get a chance to ask. Anything else you wanted to share today?
You were absolutely amazing. Honestly, the most organized and most incredible interviewer. This is my first book interview. I am obsessed with my book, of course. So this has been so wonderful. And I can't thank you enough. I'm so honored.
All right. Now we go back to one word. Last question I have to ask.
Sure.
One word that crystallized our experience today on this podcast. What words come to mind?
You're so funny.
One word.
One word. Oh, you want me? One word from me?
Yes, from you. That represents our time on this podcast today.
Hope.
Yes. I think that's the same for me. I feel hope too. Most of the time I say I'm just so grateful, especially for my guests like you who took the time to teach us. But yeah, I feel a lot of hope for America. 250 years, that's a long time. And it is time for us to just step up and be all we were meant to be. Amen. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Kim. You've been a great, tremendous teacher today. I appreciate it.
You're just adorable. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, everybody. This is one for the book. Again, follow Kimberly Palermo on LinkedIn. She's under Synergy Unlimited, and her website, indoctrination365.com. Get a copy of her thought-provoking book, Indoctrination 365, Taking Racial Responsibility in Post-Truth America, We the People. So it's available everywhere books are sold. And I have one more interview today. It's going to be, I think, at 4 p.m. California time, so 7 p.m. on the East Coast. I'm going to be talking to Command Sergeant Major, which is E9. That's the highest rank for enlisted. Only 1% of people who enlist in the military end up as that rank. Yolanda Mary Tate is going to be talking to us, retired from the U.S. Army. We're going to be talking about the command method, leading through AI disruption with clarity. She has written an instant bestseller on Amazon. The book is called Command. We're going to be talking about it. I hope you can join us. Tomorrow, I don't have a guest, and actually, I'm going to be speaking at 3 different security conferences across the Bay Area. So I may not have a podcast tomorrow, but on Friday, I think I will come back. We're going to talk about the book of Proverbs, not as a religious study, but we're going to be looking at ancient wisdom and looking for those leadership lessons in the book of Proverbs that are still applicable today, more than 2,000 years after the book was written. So we did Proverbs 22 last time. We're going to do Proverbs chapter 23. I'm planning to do this on Friday. Okay, thanks again for watching. Really appreciate all of you guys. And I hope to see you again very soon. So bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If today's episode added value to your leadership journey, be sure to subscribe, share, and join us again for more wisdom nuggets on how to lead better and achieve greater success. Remember, leadership is the most critical skill of our time. The world will always need leaders to inspire others, drive innovation, and execute meaningful strategy. So why not count yourself among the bold leaders shaping the 21st century? Until next time, stay inspired, stay committed, and keep leading with excellence.